Hey guys, I'm back. And I'm sorry about the 2 week hiatus, but I had a good reason. I was sick. I had uveitis, fever of 102, sore throat, all this very nasty crap. And the and so there was a lot of stuff that I wasn't able to catch up on just because I wasn't feeling up to it and I couldn't, speak sometimes, and I've been pretty much living off soup for, the last 2 weeks. But anyway, things I wanted to touch on was, the MLB season beginning. I wanted to do a preview video for that. I wanted to do a video for all the moves the Miami Dolphins were making because they're my favorite football team. I wanted to do a NBA kind of end of season leading up to the playoffs, because like Minnesota and Denver are playing for the 8th seed in the West tonight. Winner moves on, loser goes home. But the most pressing and urgent matter I can think of right now is the fact that tonight the NHL playoffs begin. So, without any more blah 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 from me, let's turn it over to the board. Let's just try to make this as quick as possible. As we know, Nashville won the President's Cup. That means they, for those of you who don't follow hockey, that means they ended up with the season with the most points. Pretty much, they're considered the best team in a regular season. Tampa, they won the East, which doesn't surprise me. I thought Tampa was the best team coming into the season. A lot of people, are still doubting them because they came in, 5-5 in the last 10. People are calling them frauds and cons. And a lot of people want to take New Jersey. So you know what? Right here, just to end this discussion, I'm giving Tampa Bay to move on in 5 over New Jersey, who, they just barely swept in under the rug, because Florida really came on towards the end of the season there. Because I had them written off as dead. They were terrible looking in the beginning of the season. They really, flipped the switch, and I think Florida's going to be one of those teams you better look out for next season. Boston, Toronto, another team who is, up and coming and getting a lot better than they are, is Toronto. They'll be somebody to look forward to for next season. I think Boston's still Boston. I think Boston has a lot more experience. I go Boston in 6. Washington, Columbus, again, the grade 8. Ovechkin is there. This Washington team, they've had a ton of experience, haven't been able to get over that hump yet, and I don't think this is the year that they're going to do it because of this divisional format that I truly hate, because they're going to run into Pittsburgh, and I think Pittsburgh, and with how much playoff experience, those teams have, and it just seems like Pittsburgh always has Washington's number. You fluffy little bastard. Anyway, we're just going to continue. And I just think, and I mean, Columbus is a team who has been coming on recently, in recent years. So maybe this could be the time where they, kind of advance and move on, but I don't think so. Not against Washington. I'm going to take Washington here. To knock off Columbus. And Pittsburgh, Philly. There is just a great... Philly's another team who just slid in. They're not a great team. I don't like them. But I'll tell you what, if I'm a Philly fan, which I am not, which I am solely against Philadelphia fans, If I was a Phillies fan though, I would be in heaven right now because you just had the Eagles winning. You had the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Then 2 months later, you had Villanova just absolutely dominate the Final Four, the NCAA tournament, March Madness, whatever you want to call it. Now you have the Flyers in the NHL playoffs. You have the Sixers, who look like they're going to be the 3 seed in the NBA playoffs for the Eastern Conference. So if the Phillies baseball team can, turn things around and actually be somewhat decent, you can actually, you gotta be loving your city right now if you're Philly fans. But unfortunately, you got Pittsburgh, who's just much, much better offensively and just a much better team all around. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh. I almost want to say in a sweep. And if it wasn't like a rivalry game, I would say it would be a sweep. But I think somewhere along the line, like Pittsburgh jumps to 3-0. And game 4, to survive, I think the Flyers pull off 1 win. So Pittsburgh in 5. Now we go Tampa, Boston. This is the game I think is going. If they weren't in the same conference, this would probably be the Stanley Cup. And you know what? I like Boston because they play better defense. But talent-wise, I think Tampa Bay has them out. So I'm kind of, offense wins games, defense wins championships. But this is the logic from why I picked Virginia to win the NCAA March Madness. So I'm going to go against my offense-defense logic. And you know what? I'm going to pick Tampa Bay to get it done in 6. Washington, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has been Washington's Achilles heel forever and ever and ever and ever. And so, when you have a team you can't beat, why do I think it'll be different this year? It won't be. Pittsburgh, they've won the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. It's time for some new blood to be put into the Stanley Cup. Tampa Bay, I thought, was a team who was looking like a dynastic team a few years ago. Then they had some struggles in the playoffs, then ran into, the Chicago dynasty in the Stanley Cup. So Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, it's time for new blood to get in there. Pittsburgh's won it twice. Tampa Bay is the best team talent-wise in the NHL. So there we go. We got Tampa winning the East. Now over here in the West, Nashville, Colorado. Colorado got in by beating who did they beat? Not Dallas, but anyway, I can't remember who they beat. St. Louis. St. Louis, and this is the thing I'm surprised by, the fact that there's no St. Louis, and Chicago had a terrible, terrible season. They just played like garbage. So, Nashville, Colorado. I'm going to take Nashville. Winnipeg, Minnesota. These are 2 teams I know absolutely nothing about, except for I think Zach Parise might play for Minnesota. But you know what? We'll give it to Canada. We got to move a Canadian team in there at least once. Now, Vegas should be ecstatic. I think they're going to win game 1. I don't see any reason why, Marc-Andre Fleury would lose that one at least. But I still think the Kings are... Well, the Kings are the Kings. They're good. They've been there. They've done that. And Vegas is a very good team. And I think the Kings win in 6, but if they go into 7, then I think with Vegas having home ice and that place is going to be crazy, I think if it came down to it, it would be like game 1, where I don't think the Kings have a chance of winning. Game 7, the Kings wouldn't have a chance of winning. Anaheim, San Jose. I thought the Sharks were a lot better of a team than where their standing finished. They kind of tailed off at the end of the season. And Anaheim, they won 5 in a row. They're coming in hot. But I just think where a team is supposed to be good who wasn't as good, I like the Sharks to get it done over Anaheim. I like the Sharks to beat the Kings. Because the Sharks were up there all year. They just kind of tailed off at the end. Kind of the same thing with Tampa. And you know what? And then Winnipeg, Nashville. You got to love that goaltending of Nashville. Pekka Rinne, you got to love him. And goaltending really can carry you far through the playoffs. We've seen that with Jonathan Quick, with Marc-Andre Fleury in Pittsburgh. So I'm taking Nashville here. Then Nashville, San Jose. I'm going to take the Sharks. I really do like the Sharks. I think they underperformed in the tail end of the season. I don't really, and I have this feeling that because they won the President's Trophy, there's going to be a lot more riding on this Nashville team than usual. So I'm good, and then my Stanley Cup, San Jose, Tampa Bay. I'm giving it to the Tampa Bay Bolts. Tampa Bay Lightning, 2018. Stanley Cup champs in 5 games over the Sharks. Okay, guys, well, thank you for watching. Glad to be back. I'm sorry if this ran a lot longer than I expected it to. And I will see you guys next time.